Welcome to our newest episode of The Spin, where I sit down with Jake Regulbuto, the frontman for the Boston-based rock band Gollylagging. Gollylagging blends a mixture of shoegaze, emo rock, noise rock, and more classic indie sentiments into their own music, including their 2024 EP Dry Rot and their newest single Jackknife. And Regulbuto's tastes, highlighted by the 5 albums we'll talk about today, carried the same wide array of sensibilities. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy our conversation. Okay, nice. And we are live. How are you doing today, Jake?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. And so you guys just released your new single, Jackknife, right? Tell me about the new song and where you guys are at as a band currently. Like, it doesn't have to be specifically what you're working on, but just what's kind of the creative mind state you guys are in.
hmm Yeah, I mean, I think we're definitely working towards an album, and I think Jackknife is kind of like we're working towards a new sound as well, and kind of experimenting with different things. And I think Jackknife is one of the first songs like that we were working on. So,
Nice.
um,
Nice.
yeah.
Would you mind if I asked you to be a little more specific about different things, or is that under wraps right now?
Depends. I don't mind. I don't mind. You can ask.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I mean, what versus your guys like the Dry Rot EP, right? Where are
Yeah.
you guys headed now sonically? Would you say?
Um, I think that Dry Rot is like it's very noisy and we're keeping that because we're very into like being like a noisy band. I would say it's a little less like sad or angry, like
Mhm.
in a forthright way, you know? Because obviously those like, those emotions are always going to be present in some of our music, but I feel like we're going for like a vibe that's more like how we feel we are as people, you know? So it's a little bit more like laid back, a little bit more slacker, but it's still like noisy and fun and all that stuff. So um yeah, and just like a little bit of different influences as well. And yeah.
Cool. Yeah, we don't have to get too down in the weeds about it. And I do want to talk about like when we get to our last album section, we can talk a little bit more about it. But I guess that
Definitely.
gives me a good enough segue into the actual topic for today, which are 5 albums that you sent me beforehand, that in different categories that kind of will allow us to trace your musical journey through those. So I'll read those off real quick and then we'll start with the first one. So it'll be the first album you ever remember hearing, which for you was Black Sabbath, Master of Reality. It'll be the first album you bought, which was Linkin Park, Minutes to Midnight. The most influential album when you started making music, which was Icky, Mettle, Archers of Loaf. And then we'll have a classic album that's underappreciated. So Pete Rock and CL Smooth, The Main Ingredient was your choice for that. And then an album in the past 5 years you've loved, which was Momma, Household Name, right? So let's
Yeah.
start with the Black Sabbath album, the natural place to start.
Mhm.
Just tell me about it. You don't necessarily have to have a specific memory about hearing this album, like your exact surroundings, but like when you think of this album, what's the memory, either specific or general, that comes to your mind of your first exposure to it?
I remember my dad is a big Aussie guy, so he would like listen to a lot of the solo stuff, and we were driving up to for like a ski trip, just him and I and my brother, and he was just showing us Black Sabbath because I guess that's just what him and his friends used to listen to. And I remember hearing Sweet Leaf and being like, "Oh, this is actually hard. This is really hard." So I think Sweet Leaf opens it, I'm pretty sure, and it's just like I don't know. I just feel like ever since like my childhood, like that's kind of one of the older metal bands that I'm like, yeah, this rules.
And so your dad was into that harder type of rock. Do you remember? Or yeah, I'll leave the question there. Tell me about your dad's taste. Like, what were your first exposures to music like through him?
He was like he's into like Black Sabbath and stuff, and but he's also like really like Southern rock. That's like his big thing. Like he's more almost more into like the Southern rock stuff now, and like he's more of a country guy now than he used to be, but definitely back in the day he was like he would always play like Charlie Daniels in the car. He was big on Charlie Daniels and Marshall Tucker. He loves Marshall Tucker and stuff like that. So yeah, I'd say Southern rock, and he's not even really like a big metal guy. I think Black Sabbath is probably like the heaviest thing that he liked, but just like any like the classic rock things, Southern especially.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. And so at what point did you kind of start to pick up that interest yourself in that harder brand or just the non-southern brand of rock, something different from your
Yeah.
dad's taste?
I mean, I feel like first grade, my mom gave me her iPod. She wasn't really using it that much. Her music taste is a lot different. She was more of just like a pop girl. Like she just like Whitney Houston and stuff like that. Um, and whatever was on the radio and like the Dirty Dancing soundtrack. So she was like, I'm not really using this that much. So she gave it to me, and I would just listen to a lot of Linkin Park on it. Because I think it was just popular at the time. It was on the radio, and yeah, I don't know. I think I just liked it because I also listened to a lot of we had a lot of the dad rock CDs. Like they
Hmm.
loved the first Daughtry album was big for my parents, and like Creed too. Like they had that. I don't know if they were that big on Creed, but they had it. So I think I just liked like distorted, like loud things.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so did you grow up near Boston?
I grew up in like rural Connecticut. It's like really close to Western Mass. It's like basically Western Mass. Um, so I can't say like I'm from Boston. I've been here for a while for college, and I kind of stuck around, but I'm more of like a rural Connecticut guy.
Yeah. And so I guess just tell me about because the Linkin Park, you mentioned the Linkin Park album. That kind of gives us a decent segue into the next section. Just tell
Yeah.
me about like what your musical surroundings were like from a young age. Like, is that the stuff your friends were listening to as well? How did you discover the Linkin Park album?
Um, Linkin Park might. So I was big on Guitar Hero. A lot of my music taste is Guitar Hero. Um, my dad was a big music guy. My cousins that I spent a lot of time with, their dad was also into like loud, heavier rock stuff. So I
Hmm.
think that like even because since we spent a lot of time with our cousins, I feel like that was just we were just exposed to so much more of it. And like if you're playing all that stuff on Guitar Hero, like I'm pretty like what I've done was on World Tour. So I think that's probably where I found them. And then I was a big like music video watcher on YouTube, so I'd probably just watch all the Linkin Park suggested videos and just got like really into them that way. When I was like 7 or 8. Um, yeah, I don't know. My friends, um, a lot of the kids like when we were younger, they were big on Green Day. I was never like a Green Day kid. And then when we get older, like around middle school is when rap became super popular. And so we were all listening to like that kind of stuff in middle school and high school. And people weren't really into like the rock thing as much as I was at that point. But yeah.
So when you're a kid, all these like the iPod and your cousins and Guitar Hero kind of combining to introduce you to rock at that time.
Yeah.
Who were some of the other bands like outside of Linkin Park, outside of your exposure to Black Sabbath through your dad that
Yeah.
were your first favorites at that time?
My first favorites at that time. I'm trying to think. Hmm. I was like I was really into Led Zeppelin in like 5th grade because that was another record that we had. Um, there's like a we bought every like classic rock CD. When I first got my iPod was like big for me. So like, I think it was like Led Zeppelin, House of the Holy was one that I was playing a lot. Um, I think there's like a Def Leppard one that I was listening to a lot. It's like not really stuff that I still hold near and dear to my heart, but definitely like a lot of that like hair metal stuff too was in there. Um, I don't know, but I think I would probably say Led Zeppelin was my favorite for a little while back in the day. But
Yeah. Well, and then I guess just talk to me about the formation of your music taste as you got a little older, and all of this precedes you like actually picking up the guitar for the first time, right?
Yeah, yeah, all of this does. I technically picked up the guitar for the first time when I was 7, but my hands weren't big enough, so I dropped it. And I was like not really trying to play music. I didn't try again until I was like 16. Um, but the formation of my music taste. I mean, I was really into like rap and soul in middle school because I don't know. I think I just hadn't really checked it all out yet, and so
Mm-hmm.
I had a really big couple years with rap and soul, just anything I get my hands on, and then I had like a scene phase like when I was like 13 for like literally just 1 year. Um, and then I went back to like rap and dad rock for a while, earlier in high school. And then I found emo in like, I would say junior year. Um, I was big on like emo and like 90s indie rock, anything like that. So like, obviously you had like the older emo stuff, but I was big on Built to Spill and Pavement my last like senior year of high school as well. Um, but emo is definitely like the genre that I like was really into my last couple years of high school, first year or two of college.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting a little bit ahead probably, but that was like
You're
the
okay.
formation of it.
We can never stick to just the straight chronological timeline because my questions are leading. They'll take you farther than where we're trying to go. Um,
Yeah,
but I mean to rewind, so like the Linkin Park stuff, and you mentioned Green Day, and like a lot of people. I'm not insinuating anything about your taste at the time because you were a kid, but a lot of
yeah,
people look back on that era and like that era of their music taste as slightly cringe, right? Would be the word
yeah.
for it. Do you view it as that at this point, or is it something you still like return to and revisit?
I I try to revisit and see what I think now because I feel like I have like you have to accept that there's like a reason that you liked that thing at the time, and like
Mhm.
of course like there's like a reason why people like those things, and there are some things that I don't like now, but I think it's literally like artist by artist base. Like the cringiest time I think overall is like the scene phase. I would that to me and my personal taste doesn't really hold up as much, but I actually feel like hot take maybe, but Linkin Park is overhated. If anyone even hates them, I feel like a lot of people will still like them, but some of that
Mhm.
stuff is still hard. There's a song on Meteora called "Hit the Floor," and it doesn't have like the rapping in it, and his voice is crazy. Um, and it's just like it's super tough, and he just is like still one of the best vocalists to this day.
It, yeah, you mentioned like there is something you definitely liked about it at the time, and we have to
Yeah.
look for that when we're reflecting back on our music taste. So, to the best of your memory, I mean, you don't have to nail it down to one specific thing, but what did you enjoy about Linkin Park at the time, and then overall, what got you into rock music in general?
Um, I think like I really liked distorted guitars. So anything distorted, I was into that, and I really liked how heavy his voice was, and his range was crazy. So I think I was like found that impressive too. And I mean, I know they're like a new metal band, but I do think that there's like catchy elements. So I've always been like a kind of like an earworm guy. Like if it gets stuck in my head, then I like it. Um, I think that was kind of what drew me to Linkin Park. But overall, like I think it's just like you grow up on rock music and you just think it's really cool, and like I was like enamored by like any guitar solo. So uh I think that like I mean, obviously rock is like the biggest genre for that almost. So like I think yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was really cool, and I thought people that could play guitar were really cool, and I wanted to really bad, and I didn't know how. So yeah, I'm still like that.
Well, so you talked about kind of what you picked up the guitar seriously for the first time when you were 16. So let's
Yeah.
jump ahead to there. Just tell me about like. the formation of your, or I guess those days of the foundations of you first becoming an artist and a musician, right? Like what finally made you take that leap to say, okay, I'm gonna pick up the guitar, like I can do it now.
Yeah, I didn't do music or anything at all in public until I was 15 or 16, and I just had a friend who was like, we need more guys in the choir, and they signed me up. And I was like, you know what? I probably should do something that's a little bit outside my comfort zone. And I just like went and I made it because I was like, they just needed another guy that was willing to do it. And there was like this, a lot of people played guitar and stuff. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. They can just kind of sing a song. All I need is them and the guitar. So I started picking it up around then. I didn't really know what to do, so I just started watching a bunch of YouTube videos of songs I like that sounded easy. Um, and I kind of just taught myself that way just by learning the songs. I didn't like have any formal lesson. Like I never like looked up lessons or like learned. I don't know any scales or just like figured out how to play songs. So I guess that's how I picked up guitar. And then I was in like a cover band. My cousin was trying to quit and she needed a replacement, so she put me in this cover band. So I learned even more songs, and at a certain point, I was like, I don't know, like playing covers kind of sucks. It's like you're kind of imposing on these people that just want to get ice cream. So I'd rather like write my own stuff and see if anyone wants to come to that. And I just kind of convinced the people that I was in the cover band with. I was like, we should just make our own stuff. And that was kind of like the first time I formed a band to like write my own things.
Mm-hmm. It's so
Yeah.
did you know right away, like when you started writing songs or even when you picked up the guitar, what type of rock or what type of songs you want to make or what type of sound you wanted to pursue, or was that more of a gradual formation of that idea?
I think it's gradual. I think it still happens, but I was getting into like emo stuff, and I think the big draw to that genre for me, or one of the big draws, was uh there was just a lot of people like playing in basements, and it didn't really seem that hard to do. Like like no shade, but I was just like these lyrics are not like super profound or like anything like that, and like it just seemed like it was fun. So I was really into that. Um and I guess it just struck a chord at some point back then. So I was like, I feel like I could do that. I feel like I can muster the courage to do one of those songs. Um, and yeah, I think that was like the style at the time, was kind of like just some sort of like poppy thing. Because I think a lot of that, there's some versions of that that are just kind of like pop rock, and people call it emo, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not even really that. I think that was kind of like what I was into, really.
And so what role did the Archers of Loaf album have to play in the formation of your taste as a songwriter?
I think that they're kind of like I was just on the internet a lot, like looking for new music, and I would see people that would be like, there's not enough emo bands that are inspired by Archers of Loaf. And I checked it out and I was like, why is this so awesome? Because it's like everything about those songs is catchy. It's like the riff is catchy, the melody is catchy, like just like I don't know. It's just like the structures are not even like typical, but sometimes they are like just like pop structured songs. Um and so I always just kind of like kept them in the back of my mind, and I just thought like the production sounded cool because it was like punchy, but also at times it was heavy, but it never like lost the pop parts of it. And I just think that that record is just so incredible. I still listen to it. Um, I first like started working at the record store that I work at now, and like I became friends with like my manager because I was like, oh, really like Archers of Love, and he's like, dude, I love that band. And that's like, so it's just like that band is pretty near and dear to my heart. I feel like they're just awesome, and every step of the way, I feel like I've like kind of like leaned on them to kind of like give me like some sort of inspiration that I was looking for, no matter like what style too, because I feel like they're versatile. like if you're making any kind of rock music, I feel like you can get something from them, and they don't really get enough credit for it.
Yeah, I feel like they have like my impression of the record because that was frankly my first time listening to it was to research for this podcast. I thought it was incredible for one, but I feel like what's special about it is there's like a almost a disdain or an apathy or like an irony injected into what would otherwise, like you said, some of it's like it's very catchy, some of it's somewhat poppy, like somewhat traditional indie rock, right? And I feel
Yeah.
like this is again getting ahead of ourselves, but I feel like you as a songwriter and you guys in the band also do that to some extent. Am I tracing that line of influence properly from an outside perspective?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they do a lot of similar stuff. Or I try to do a lot of similar stuff to them, obviously. But like they do like this like noisy poppy indie rock thing that I just like, you know, that's what I if anyone ever compared us to like Archers of Loaf, I'd be like over the moon. Like this is like that's the kind of band that I'd wanna be. So like sonically they're like that too. But they also do this thing that I really like lyrically, which is like they'll write the song and I'll be like, what the hell are you even talking about? But it's like cool, like it's like a poetic in a way, and it's not like poetic in a way that like takes itself super seriously. Like I still feel like there's like a laid back element to it. Like I don't know, I really enjoy his lyrics, and especially the big song Web in Front, like that line he's like all I ever wanted was to be your spine is like such a good line. It's such a good line, and that's one of the lines where you kind of know exactly what it means, but it's just like it's so perfect.
Yeah. And then there's the song at the end of the album where he's like, "There's something wrong with my toast." Is that just
Yeah,
called toast?
maybe. But
Uh,
that's so funny.
oh, go ahead. I'll have to go look that up so I know for sure I have my facts straight. But
Yeah.
um, so tell me, I guess this is a good enough time. Just tell me about the formation of Gollylagging, right? Like your band now. At what point do we get there where kind of the roots of that start to pick up?
The the lamp now. Um well, the drummer of my band has always been in it. Um I kind of just like met him from like playing shows in our old bands, and we kind of realized we had like the same taste, so we started going to shows together, and I had some demos. Like I was in a band at the time, but I kind of wanted like a lot of control over like the sound of the songs I was working on. I was like, I don't know. I think I just needed like a pivot at the time, and I uh hit him up and I was like, I think I'm gonna start working on these if you're interested. And he's kind of been in it ever since that. And our first show ever in this band we met, or we played with this band called Going to Jail, and they're not active anymore, but the singer, we've been friends with him ever since. And at a certain point we were the three piece for the longest time, and we needed a lead player. We just asked him. So we were like, we just like this guy. So so um we asked Jules to play in our band, and that made us four. And then we had a bass player for the longest time, our friend Oliver. And he moved to Sweden for grad school, and so we just had our friend Joey who would fill in for him when he wasn't available. We were just like, you want to just be full time, and so that's kind of like the formations. Like Andrew was in it the longest, and then down the line we kind of just kept adding people.
And so when you found that original formation of the band, would you say everyone was kind of united in the vision of what you wanted to achieve sonically? Like with that kind of poppy sense to it?
Yeah, I think like sometimes in the past we've had like different visions of like, oh, like this is kind of the band that I want, or this is someone else might want something different. But I think the thing that's always united us is like noisy, a little some like making some choices like like production wise are a little bit weird, but like keeping like the poppy indie rock thing at the center of it is has kind of always been the thing. Um, so I think that like that's kind of why we've made it this far. I think we're like 5 years in. That's just because like at the end of the day, like bare bones, like take all the genre stuff away from it, or like the really anything away from it. If you just strip it down, it's like the poppy indie rock stuff is like what unites us, I would say.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what the scene in Alston, right, was like at that
Yeah,
time. Because I mean, you just mentioned going to jail, right?
yeah,
And then there's Dino Gala as well, who you guys worked with on the Fauna EP, and so that's
yeah.
kind of the extent of what I know about your guys' local scene. But just what was the environment like at the time? It seems like you guys got ingrained relatively quickly into the flow of everything.
Yeah, I mean, we literally like first show you could play after COVID. We did with Dino Gallo going to jail. Um, and I think at the time, like, because I think right before COVID, when I was going to shows, there was a lot of like there was a lot of like what I felt was Mac DeMarco clones, and I thought,
Hmm.
I'm fine with Mac DeMarco, but I was like, I don't know, like none of this stuff really like has what I'm looking for, and it was kind of a bummer. And um, I mean, maybe I missed some stuff. I don't know. I wasn't at everything, but like as a lot of stuff that I was seeing around and hearing, I was like, I don't know. It's like it's not that it's bad, but it's not like my thing. Um, and I think I was like, what's like the heaviest thing I could make, like personally, that still felt like true to me. And I think that was kind of like our early stuff was like really scrappy, and I wanted to like not make it poppy. I was like, I don't want it to be like accessible, but it ended up being like pretty poppy because I don't think we could help ourselves. So that was kind of like what I felt the scene was like at the time. But I think after coming back from all of that, like I think the thing has kind of been since the show started back up. Like in Boston, everyone is kind of on like the noisy wave, and it's super awesome. It's like super saturated the opposite way now. Um, and I don't know. I don't feel like Boston doesn't really get like a ton of credit for it, but it's like a super noisy, super interesting scene for that kind of thing.
And so, how did that like the Fauna EP specifically come about? Because I feel like that's not something I see a ton as a collaborative or like a compilation EP like that within that localized of a scene.
Yeah, I feel like well, since we were big into emo, especially at the time. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, not so much anymore, but like I feel like we were big into emo, and that was the thing in the scene. It's like you make friends with people, and you kind of put out a split EP. Um, and we were kind of
Okay.
just like we really like these two bands. And I was like, I just feel like it'd be like an awesome thing to do. Is kind of like cement that into this like one project. Everyone does a couple songs, make like a thing out of it. And no one was really doing them. I was like, I think these things are cool, honestly. So I mean, there were some really cool splits that I kind of think fly under the radar. Like there's one of it's like Avlov and it's like an older Japanese breakfast project. I don't know why I'm blanking on the name now, but it's really cool. I think it was definitely before we did ours, but like it's just like such a cool idea to me.
Yeah. And what do you think it did for you guys as a band? Like, did it help kind of cement you in the local scene, or were you already cemented by that point?
I think we were playing a lot. I feel like it's kind of hard to say. It definitely feels good like to like have a show where you put out something like that and then people actually come to the release of it. I think that's kind of like when we were like, oh, maybe people think this is cool, because I don't think you really have that kind of confidence before that. Because I remember the promoter booked it at a this place called Crystal Ballroom, and we were like, this is really big. Like I feel like it's gonna like this is not gonna fill up at all. And we were super nervous about it. Um, I mean, it actually ended up going pretty well, and it was like it's like to this day one of our favorite shows that we've done. Um, it's super rewarding and super happy about it. And I feel like that was like if we ever felt like cemented, I think that would probably be like the time.
Hmm. And so moving into working on the Dry Rot EP, right? What I guess how did your guys' sound change in that interim? What did you kind of want to do differently as you were heading into work on the solo or like solo band EP?
Yeah. Um, I definitely wanted to like I definitely wanted to do like the like chunky guitar thing, and I was kind of getting into like the I don't know how to explain it fully. Like what if it was like Archers of Loaf, but it was just heavier kind of thing? Like
Hmm.
so I was like, what if they just like really let the guitars fly when they were distorted and I kind of feel like that's like not a comparison that we get, but I'm thinking about it now, like it really is just kind of like what if Archers of Loaf was heavier because like the vocals I think are similar because he was kind of a yeller. I was a little bit yelpy at the time, I would say, on that EP. Um, and yeah, I think I just wanted to do like the catchy thing, but I was like, what's like the heaviest, catchiest thing I could do at the time? Was that was definitely my goal with it.
Nice. Well, I feel like that's a good enough segue to move on to your classic album. And this does just kind of take us out of order. Like we can flash back here to the formation of your taste because you mentioned hip hop was a thing for you in middle school and in high school, right? So
Yeah.
just tell me about what specifically you enjoy about hip hop. At what point does it enter your taste? And then we can talk more specifically about the main ingredient as a project because to me as well, that's one of the best hip hop albums of all time. It's just so
Sick.
clean and so thorough. But
Yeah.
I wanna hear your take on it. So
I I I had a babysitter when I was really young, introduced me to like Drake. And I was like it was I was probably like 10 or 11 and she would play Drake and I was like I just hadn't really heard anything that was like my parents didn't listen to rap music and I don't think like the rap that was on the radio at the time wasn't like it was like pop rap, so it was pretty inoffensive. Um and uh I don't know. I think I got really into like any rap that I could find. Like I think I was big on Kendrick because Good Kid, Mad City came out around that time too, and a lot of the kids were listening to that. And I think that Goblin, Tyler the Creator came out. Those were like I remember those were big in like sixth grade. And so I kind of kept up
mhm,
with it because like obviously like that stuff was big in high school. Um, like Travis Scott was starting to get big, and like the trap stuff was kind of the new thing. So like, everyone was listening to like Future and stuff. But I liked there was always like people artists that I liked in each wave of new styles and stuff. But I as I got older, I was kind of like I don't know how to say. It's like any other genre where it just gets oversaturated with the same style once it gets popular. Um,
mhm.
and I was kind of yearning for like stuff that sounded a little bit older. And I just hadn't heard Pete Rock yet. So like I think I was working at this place called Newberry Comics. I don't know if they have any of them where you are. They're pretty East Coast. But I was working at this place called Newberry Comics in Boston, and I had this coworker that was really into rap. That was like his biggest genre, and he was like, "Have you heard this before?" And I was like, "No." And we could play anything we wanted there, so he put it on, and I was like, "This is so awesome." I was like, "This is the best shit ever." Like I think I Get Physical is like the perfect rap song to me.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And I think my favorite is When the Sun Comes Out. Is that the name of it? Sun Comes Out. One of those two. That track is like
Yeah,
the third or fourth one. Is the whole album is so ridiculously well produced. But
yeah.
so do you have any other favorite like either classic hip hop albums or just hip hop albums that you still listen to today?
Um yeah, I mean I like Mobb Deep the Infamous. That's a really good one.
Hmm.
Um I mean at work I put on Low End Theory a lot. Um because it's like it's not like super it's not like it doesn't like stick out like the things that they say. really. Like, so you can play it like if like parents are in there, you can still have trial on. Like, um, I like a lot of the Outcast stuff. I think Outcast is sick. Um, and I feel like they're at least like the people that I know, I feel like they're like kind of slept on. Like they're not because like they're one of the most popular rap duos ever, but I feel like I don't hear enough credit nowadays for them.
Oh, sorry, you froze up for a second.
Oh shit, sorry.
So yeah, I mean, no, you're good. You're good. Let's move on to the last album then. Mama, household name.
Yeah.
Switch back into the rock sphere of things a little bit. Just tell me, again, very broad question, but what you enjoy about this album? I mean, there's obviously some similarities to Archers of Loaf, but there's also some clear differences. So just talk me through like why do you enjoy this album so much?
I feel like they're just like they're that's like some of the best songwriting that I've heard in the past 5 years. Like it's like super catchy. Their voices are great. The production is really cool. Like, cause they do have like that like distorted feel, but it's not like super overly aggressive or anything. And I saw them live this past January, and I was like, they're like somehow better live. Um, but yeah, I just like the coolest thing about that record is like I find that like rock and everything nowadays kind of gets put into these like niche subgenres, and they kind of wrote this like
Mm-hmm.
perfect type of thing where like it's kind of just like rock music. It's kind of like just alternative or indie rock, like whatever you want to call it. It is what it is, and it's awesome. And it's not just gonna be like, oh, that's just an emo album or that's just like a shoegaze thing. It's like no, it's like they can play with anyone they want, and like it's cool. It's like whatever it is, it's cool.
Yeah, and so I wanted to ask. This is kind of separate from the album itself, but I wonder if there's a direction in general you see like the overarching genre of rock heading in. And this could even be within like the local Boston scene. Like I don't expect you to prognosticate all of rock here, but I'm curious if you see anything.
Um, I definitely feel like there's kind of like an influx of like people trying to be like the next like noisy like shoegaze thing. Um, I feel like that's kind of big right now. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I my hope is that like bands like Momma keep coming up because I just feel like those are like the ones that are gonna stand the test of time. Like the ones that are kind of like really catchy, can't really put it in a box, but it's not like, you know, I don't know, like I'm not really like on the experimental thing. I'm kind of like what I want right now in my life is like I just want to be like that's a really good song. That's a really good song, and it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be like super normal or super experimental. It can literally be anything. I'm not like a someone who's waiting for anyone to reinvent the wheel, but like I just think that like good songwriting is really impressive, and um I think that like Mama's a band that has that. There's some Boston bands that definitely I think have a lot of great songwriters in them, and everyone has like different styles. Um, but yeah, I think that what I see happening is kind of like a lot of the noisy, like almost like Sonic Youth type things.
Mm-hmm.
But and that's cool. Like I'm a Sonic Youth fan too, but I hope that there's like more bands like Mama popping up as well.
Do you think that that poppiness or that kind of indie aspect that you guys inject into your music is a separating factor from that crowd in any way or that sound?
Um, yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't I don't know if we really fit in with like shoegaze. Like I feel like that like a lot of the bands that are called that we don't really fit with. And of
Mm-hmm.
course I like some. I of course I like some of them, and like it's not like a diss to be called that, but I do think like we're not. That's not really like our lane exactly. Um, so I do think it kind of separates us in that way. I just think we sound different. But not a bad thing.
Thank you again for tapping into this episode of The Spin. If you enjoyed this episode and this conversation, please check out our website at melt-fm.com to see some of our interviews with rising artists from across the globe and some of the additional content we'll be pushing out over the coming months. Thank you.